3, 2, 1. Hey people, what's up, people of the internet? How you doing? It's Darren, and yeah, welcome to another episode of Filmstock Tryouts. How you been doing? Have you been out taking any photos? Is it spring? Going into spring for you guys, or going into autumn for those in the southern hemisphere? Let me know where you're at. It's warming up here quite nicely in Wuxi in China, getting into spring, the 2 weeks of spring that we have. So yeah, looking forward to that. Gonna go out and take a whole bunch of photos, hopefully, if I have time. So what am I speaking about today? What are we gonna be checking out? We're gonna be checking out this random 800T. It's not Cinestill 800T. It's not Reflex Lab 800. It's some random Chinese respooled brand. Excuse me. Yeah, so we're going to chat about this. And actually, I shot this last year, I think in July, as we were actually August, sorry, because we were busy moving here to Wuxi from Hangzhou. So I shot most of it in Hangzhou, actually, as we were busy packing and moving across here. And yeah, so you'll be seeing some of the shots I took in Hangzhou. And yeah, I got it off Taobao, which is like China's eBay and Amazon. And what can I say? It's an excellent film. It is Kodak cinefilm, where they've just removed the ramjet layer, and the ramjet layer is what protects it against the halations in cinema, because you don't really want, unless you're using it for effect, you wouldn't really want halations in your movies. But yeah, when you want to shoot it for photography, removing the ramjet layer allows the halations to happen, as far as I know. But yeah, anyway, 800T, it's a C41 process because the ramjet layer is removed. If it has the ramjet layer in, then it's a different process, which I think is ECN2, because you've got to remove the ramjet layer first. And I've also just found out that you can develop the cinefilm that has a ramjet layer on, like if you've got Kodak 5219 just standard, or 5207, if you got it with the ramjet layer on, you can actually do like a pre-bath, and that can remove the ramjet layer yourself and develop in C41 chemicals. So I'm going to be trying that sometime soon. Anyway, waffling on here, so let's get to it. 800T, what are my thoughts? And yeah, so overall, I really enjoyed this film. I love the colors. I love just how well everything turns out in the images. This was also right when I was starting out getting, like, I think I just started film in June, so July, or maybe 2 months, maybe. And yeah, I was still learning. I just got the Canon F1N. I think this is like one of the second or third roll I had put through it. And yeah, I was making so many mistakes and learning as I go. So on that basis, the results that I got back, the images that I have on the roll, I'm really happy with them. And I love the film, and I actually should have ordered more of it, but I haven't, because I've been trying to find film that I haven't ever shot before and build up a repertoire of film stocks to try out. So yeah, I love this film. I love the colors. I love how it looks. The color rendering or representation is really good. It's sharp. It just looks beautiful, and it looks good indoors and outdoors. It's actually a daylight balanced 32,000 Kelvin or 3200 Kelvin. But yeah, you can shoot it outdoors and indoors. And then also it is a 800 ISO film, so it does have a bit more sensitivity to light, so you can use it in lower light situations. Although I tried it like in the middle of the night, and I mean, I think the images that I got were cool, but it still broke apart a little bit. But yeah, we'll get there when I show you guys the photos. I'm going to be trying out a new kind of format for this, at least. Yeah. So let me just get into my 4-point breakdown of the film. Exposure latitude, yeah, it's decent because it's cinefilm. Cinefilm needs to have a decent exposure latitude for when they're shooting movies. You don't really, yes, they have the extra lighting and they need to have that really well set up, but you still want at least a decent exposure latitude when shooting for movies. And then that obviously transfers over to when you use it in photography. I'd say 1.5 stops of exposure latitude, more actually going to overexposure than underexposure, and generally you'll find that with film, most film will have a decent exposure latitude going over, not so much under. So the general rule is to overexpose your film slightly. And yeah, so I tried doing that mostly, but I failed. So exposure latitude about 1.5 stops, mostly going stops overexposing, not underexposing. Sharpness, incredibly sharp. You'll see in some of the images as I go through them, it's almost like they were shot with a digital camera with like a super sharp lens. They're really, really beautiful. The clarity and the sharpness throughout the image is beautiful. Exceptionally sharp film. Contrast, decently contrasted. Contrasty film. I wouldn't say too heavy, not like what I did last week, which was Harmon Phoenix. That's quite a contrasty film. And yeah, this is contrasty, but not too much. It sometimes the highlights and the shadows sometimes where they meet, it's not immediately definable, the contrast. So yeah, I would medium, maybe a little bit less than medium contrast. Grain, it's got a very, very, very fine grain, and Kodak cinema film is known for its fine grain. Obviously because it's going to be in movies, they want it to be quite sharp and have a lot of clarity and not break apart. When underexposed, the grain becomes very prominent and breaks apart the image, which you'll see in some of the photos. And then yeah, so that's it, the 4 points. And yeah, because of that remjet layer removed, there is halations. I really think the halations are very cool. That's what Cinestill is known for, is the halations. And then obviously this is basically exactly the same thing as Cinestill, just done by a company here in China somewhere. And yeah, I love the halations. One of my absolute most favorite shots of this roll, and I think maybe of most of my film photography was shot on this roll, and is because of the halation. I don't know, it's indescribable how beautiful it is, to me at least. And yeah, so what I'm going to try and do now, and this is the differing format, is I'm going to actually go through image by image and try if there is anything that I can remember, and just kind of go through the images on my computer, but I'm also going to put them up on the screen for you guys to look at. So I'm going to try and be quick about this, don't want to waste too much time. So yeah, this is as we were moving out of our apartment in Hangzhou, busy packing up. You've got the boxes here, and yeah, just absolutely beautiful. You've got the shadows on the right of the image and very bright highlights on the left. And that is also an example of how good the exposure latitude is, because it goes from very bright to medium shadows, and it still represents the colors and the sharpness quite accurately. Also, you can see the prominent grain in the image, but you can see that my dog in the foreground and where I'm focusing is beautifully sharp, and the colors are on point. I love the yellows, how vibrant they are, and then you can see the orange in the corner, bottom right corner. Even though it's in the shadow, it's beautifully vibrant. So yeah. Then the next one, underexposed image, or actually it's a very difficult image because it's deep shadows and then very, very bright highlights. So this is actually a difficult image to shoot. Most people, I think, would actually bracket a shot like this to get the highlights and the shadows and then blend them so that you can get an image where you can see both in the shadows and the highlights. But this shows the exposure latitude of the film in that the shadows, you can still see the image, you can still see what's going on in the shadows a bit. You can still see some detail, although you can see that the grain is more prominent in the shadows, and then the highlights. The highlights in the middle of the image are blown out. It's the sky, it's heavily blown out. You can even see a touch of halation behind the trees and along the building edges. But yeah, still a beautiful image. I wouldn't say my absolute favorite, but a good representation of the film's exposure latitude. Then this next shot is actually a few shots that I was trying to frame the e-bikes going past between the cars with the yellow beef noodle shop behind it. And yeah, I just for some reason was attracted to that framing, that composition, and I missed on this one, but you can see I missed focus. I was actually focused on the cars in the foreground, and I wasn't focused far out enough to get the people going past on the e-bike, although they're still well enough in focus to make out what they are. And as Henry Cartier-Bresson says, focus is a bourgeoisie concept, being well focused, or in focus. So yeah, next one, I tried again. This one a little bit better focus. I think I was shooting probably f8, maybe f11, because there is quite a decent spread of in focus area. Still not nailing the overall composition that I was aiming for, but still looks beautiful. I love the bright yellow of the sign with the dialed down yellow of the Mercedes on the right, and then the reflections in both the windows of the cars. Then next one I actually completely missed, and I was this is the correct exposure setting that my camera was telling me, but it's still slightly, you can see the shadows are maybe a little bit too dark. It's a bit difficult to see the details in the shadows, although not that difficult. But yeah, missed the scooter going past, the e-bike. Next is another shot of the sky through the buildings. This one was exposed more for the sky, and that's why you can kind of make out some clouds there, but you can also see right at the bottom of the image there is some information in the shadows showing the exposure latitude. Then this one was shot on a train. I came through to Wuxi just to bring some of our stuff over here to the new apartment here, and I shot this as we were exiting the train. It was really late at night. I think it was like after 10, and yeah, it was pretty dark, but I also messed up the exposure settings completely, so very underexposed. The highlights obviously are at least decently exposed, but I was actually exposing for the people in the image and horribly messed it up. I think I was 2 stops under. And yeah, this was shot through a bedroom window in Hangzhou, looking out the window, 1 o'clock in the morning, I want to say, and you can see some of the halations on the lights in the foreground at the bottom there. And then yeah, I just love the red lights, and even though there's not much that you can make out in the image, the trucks towards the bottom of the image are pretty sharp and decently in focus, whereas the buildings in the background just blur into shadows with the red lights, the LED lights at the top of buildings. Not in focus, but just glowing red, a beautiful color red. And then yeah, this was I think on the day we were leaving, just taking a photo of just our random things just on the table, my wife's handbag at the time, and then just like a random I think it was a gown, and then yeah, water bottles, and just I don't know, it's nothing, another fancy image, but yeah, cool. You got the halations in the windows, just another reframing of it, a different composition. You got the shadows, and then you got the highlights through the windows there. I exposed for the highlights, but you still have detail in the shadows. Then this is my dog with the sunlight streaming onto him. You can see that it's almost like he's a ball of halation, like his fur, his white fur does have a bit of an orangey red tinge to it, and I think that might be because he was glowing in the sun, midday sun, but still a beautiful image. I love how it looks. And then yeah, another photo of our boy. Halation behind him, incredibly sharp. He's really beautifully sharp. Also, I think this was shot maybe even f16, possibly, on the Canon f1N. So yeah, beautiful image. He's really sharp. This is one of the photos that I really love, shot in Shanghai Hongqiao train station, which can be chaotic. I shot it from the top level, looking down, exposed. It's a nighttime shot actually, but it looks really beautiful. I love the image very much, and yeah, well exposed, even though there is a depth to the image and there is the light bulb right in the front, in the foreground, that is underexposed. It's a shadow, it's in the shadows, but it still looks really beautiful. And then here we get to my favorite image, probably one of my most favorite film photos I've taken. I took it in the day looking up at a random restaurant, and I just love the halation, just how it looks. It is such a beautiful image to me, and I love the clarity of the wood. It just looks, the wood is so deep and beautiful. And then yeah, missed focus of my wife, our last day at our previous job, as we were saying goodbye, but still a cool image, at least I think. And then yeah, just some random shots of us, our last time leaving our last apartment. Another night shot with a bit of a light, I don't know what, I think it was a flare through the window, because I was shooting through a window pane. So yeah, just all in shadows, and you can see the grain becomes a bit more prominent, breaking apart the image. Same thing, looking out through the window, got a bit of a glare. You can see the blue streak down the left side, and then the halation of the light. Yeah, more shots leaving. Love the halation through the window, but still, even though that area is heavily overexposed, the image itself is beautifully sharp and really well exposed. The colors are represented well. They don't break apart because of the overexposure. They just look beautiful, and the halation kind of adds that, like, I don't know, glow to the image. And then yeah, here at work, a lady walking past. Don't want to talk too much about like the points of the images, just kind of, the grain is beautiful. It doesn't break apart the image at all. It's just a well exposed shot. And yeah, underexposed, actually exposing for the bright lights, the signs, wanting to get the people walking past in silhouette, and I managed to get that. And yeah, I love it. Its colors are almost perfect, spot on. The blues accurate. Heavily underexposed in the train again. Missed exposure. I was trying to aim for the reflection of the person in the window. My wife's handbag, incredibly sharp. Look at the hair of the doll. You can see almost each individual strand. It's beautifully sharp. And this was shot wide open, and that's why you can see almost the blur. In the train station, Shanghai train station, or actually Wuxi train station, I think. Love the halation of the lights. Building, our previous job, and this is a TV cabinet that my wife made and decorated, decoupaged, and I just love the clarity of the film here. I was just trying to take this shot to remember. And yeah, my dog again, Barkley, yawning. And then yeah, in the train, this one I got the exposure correct. Nothing really is heavily in focus. I think I was missing focus, but yeah, a shot of life happening. And then yeah, more halations, more random stuff as we're leaving. A Care Bear shirt. This is one of the images that shows how incredibly sharp this and the clarity of this film. That shirt zoomed in is beautifully sharp. Everything is, it's like a digital photo almost. Obviously the grain does give it away a bit, and just the overall look of it, but yeah, incredibly sharp. And then yellow and yellow, the Mercedes with the beef noodle sign. Excuse me. So yeah, that's the roll of film. This one's probably a touch longer than it should be, but I was going through image by image, and yeah, I wonder, just let me know what you think of going through the images like that and speaking about the film. Let me know if you prefer that or if you prefer the older way. Yeah, what have you been shooting recently? And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. What is the secret phrase? The secret phrase is beef noodles. So yeah, yeah, comment the secret phrase if you made it to the end. And just know I appreciate you guys watching. Every subscriber, every person that watches, even if you don't subscribe, I appreciate your time and that you've invested your time into my random videos. But yeah, I appreciate that. Maybe subscribe if you want. Hit me up on Instagram or Threads, and yeah, let me see some of your work. I'd love to get back into the community, highlighting people and their incredible work. But as always, just keep making stuff and be blessed. Thanks so much, guys. I'll see you next week on another video. Peace.